God told me to warn you. This person is battling to let you go. You've left a huge mark. There is a reason this message found you at this exact moment. Something inside you has been quietly wondering why a certain connection still feels unfinished, even after distance, silence, or time tried to settle it. You may have convinced yourself that everything has already faded, but deep down, you still feel the echo of what once existed between you and this person. It is not because you are weak, it is because some people leave gently while others leave fingerprints on the soul. Stay with this, because what you are about to understand may finally explain why this connection has felt impossible to fully forget. This person has been fighting a quiet battle within themselves for longer than you realize. Outwardly, they may seem calm, distracted, or even distant, but internally, they replay moments connected to you more often than they admit. Certain songs pause them unexpectedly. Random places bring back memories they thought they buried. Even small details, like the way you once spoke to them during a difficult season, continue to return to their mind when life becomes heavy. What affected them most was not just your presence, but the feeling they experienced around you. You made them feel seen during a time when they felt invisible to almost everyone else. That kind of impact does not disappear easily. What makes this even deeper is that you probably never understood the full effect you had on them. You may have believed your kindness was ordinary, your patience unnoticed, or your care too small to matter. But to this person, your energy arrived during a season when they were emotionally exhausted and disconnected from themselves. Without trying, you became a safe place in their memory. Even after conversations slowed or paths changed, something about you stayed alive inside them. There is something important here. Some connections are not loud while they are happening. Sometimes the deepest marks are left quietly, through consistency, understanding, and the feeling of being emotionally at home with someone. Right now, this person is wrestling with emotions they cannot easily explain. Part of them wants to move forward completely, yet another part keeps circling back to what they felt with you. They wonder if they misunderstood the connection or if you still think about them too. They question whether silence truly ended things or whether life simply interrupted something meaningful before it had time to fully unfold. And while they may not say any of this openly, their heart has not become as detached as they pretend. Somewhere within them, your presence still exists like a chapter they cannot bring themselves to close fully. Some people walk away from a connection and never look back, but this situation has not been that simple. No matter how much this person tries to distract themselves with routines, conversations, or responsibilities, there are still quiet moments when your memory rises without warning. It happens late at night when everything slows down. It happens during ordinary days when something unexpectedly reminds them of your voice, your energy, or the comfort they once felt around you. They keep trying to convince themselves they have already moved on emotionally, yet something inside them keeps returning to the same unfinished feeling. Do not miss what comes next, because this emotional struggle has been shaping them more than you know. What they are truly battling is not just the memory of you, but the realization of how deeply you affected their inner world. Before meeting you, they had become used to protecting themselves emotionally. They learned how to stay guarded, how to avoid becoming too attached, and how to carry pain quietly without letting anyone too close. Then your presence entered their life in a way that felt natural and unforced. You listened differently. You noticed things others ignored. Even your silence carried warmth. That experience changed something in them, because once a person experiences genuine emotional peace with someone, it becomes difficult to return to emotional distance without feeling the absence deeply. There are moments when they try to act strong and unaffected, yet their heart keeps revisiting things they never fully said to you. They think about conversations they wish had lasted longer. They replay times they held back their emotions because fear or uncertainty made them hesitate. Part of them wonders whether they should have expressed more while they had the chance. Another part wonders whether you already sensed everything without them needing to say it aloud. Stay with this. The connection between two people is not always measured by labels or perfect timing. Sometimes it is measured by the emotional imprint left behind long after the moment itself has passed. And while this person may still appear distant on the surface, internally they are slowly realizing that letting go of someone who genuinely touched their spirit is not a quick process. They are beginning to understand that certain people arrive in life to awaken forgotten emotions, to soften hardened places, and to remind the heart what real connection feels like again. You became part of that awakening for them. Whether they speak about it openly or continue carrying it quietly, the truth remains the same. Your presence created a shift inside them that still has not fully settled, and deep within, they know they are not the same person they were before you entered their world. It is strange how the heart can stay connected to someone even when life creates distance between two people. Days move forward, routines change, conversations disappear, yet certain feelings refuse to fully fade. This person has tried more than once to convince themselves that what they felt for you would eventually become just another memory, but instead, your presence continues to appear in the quiet spaces of their mind. Not loudly, not dramatically, just softly and consistently, like something their soul still recognizes even after everything became uncertain. There is something important here, because not every connection leaves this kind of lasting emotional weight behind. Lately, they have been reflecting on the version of themselves that existed when you were closer to them. That realization has affected them deeply. Around you, they felt calmer, more open, more emotionally honest. You brought out parts of them they usually kept hidden from the world. Even the way you listened made them feel understood in a way they had not experienced in a long time. Now they notice the difference. They notice how empty certain conversations feel compared to the connection they shared with you. They notice how difficult it has become to pretend that your impact was small when their heart still reacts to the memory of your energy with so much emotion. At times, they question whether you even realize the mark you left on them. You may have moved through that season simply being yourself, never fully aware that your words stayed with them long after they were spoken. Some of your kindness became part of their healing process. Some of your encouragement returned to them during moments when they nearly gave up emotionally. Stay with this, because the truth is deeper than simple attachment. What they are struggling with is the realization that you became connected to important emotional growth inside their life. Letting go of you feels difficult because it also feels like letting go of a chapter that changed them from within. Now they sit with emotions they cannot easily organize. One day they tell themselves to move on fully, and the next day they find themselves thinking about whether you still feel the invisible connection too. They wonder if your silence means peace or if you also carry unanswered emotions beneath the surface. Even if they never reach out immediately, the emotional process inside them continues quietly every day. Your memory still holds meaning in their life, not because they are unable to heal, but because some people leave behind a presence that becomes part of the heart's deeper story. And whether they admit it openly or not, you are still part of that story for them. There are moments when this person almost believes they have finally reached emotional closure, but then something small pulls them back into reflection again. A familiar phrase, a certain time of night, a memory they did not expect to revisit. Suddenly, they are reminded of how naturally your connection once flowed and how rare it felt to meet someone who understood them without needing constant explanation. That realization keeps returning to them because what existed between you was not built only on attraction or temporary emotion. It carried comfort, emotional honesty, and a sense of calm they still have difficulty replacing. Don't miss what comes next, because this inner realization has been changing the way they view relationships entirely. What surprises them most is how deeply your absence has revealed your value. Sometimes people do not fully recognize the importance of a connection while they are still inside it. It is only after silence enters that the emotional weight becomes clear. This person now notices how many times they almost reached out but stopped themselves at the last second. Pride held them back sometimes. Fear of misunderstanding held them back too. Yet beneath all of that hesitation, there remains a quiet emotional pull that never completely disappeared. Even during busy seasons of life, your memory continues to return with unusual softness, as if their heart refuses to treat you like just another passing chapter. They have also begun realizing that you changed the way they see themselves. Before you, they were used to hiding certain emotions and avoiding vulnerability whenever possible. But something about your energy made them feel safe enough to lower those walls, even if only for a little while. That experience stayed with them. It showed them a version of connection that felt more genuine than what they had known before. Stay with this. The reason your impact remains so strong is because your presence awakened emotions they had ignored for years. Some people enter life loudly and disappear quickly, but others leave quiet changes that continue unfolding long after the connection shifts. Right now, they are standing between two emotions at once. One part of them wants to protect themselves by pretending everything has already faded, while another part still feels emotionally tied to what you shared. They are learning that some connections cannot simply be erased through distance or silence alone. The heart does not always move according to logic. Sometimes it holds on to people who brought peace during uncertain seasons, people who made life feel softer during heavy moments. And whether this person says your name aloud or keeps these thoughts hidden within themselves, the truth remains unchanged. You left a mark on them that time has not fully removed. Recently, this person has been experiencing moments of unexpected clarity, the kind that arrives quietly when the mind finally slows down enough to hear what the heart has been trying to say all along. They are beginning to understand that what they felt with you was never shallow or temporary. It carried emotional depth they did not fully appreciate while everything was unfolding. Now, looking back, they see how naturally you became part of their daily thoughts, how your presence brought balance into seasons that once felt emotionally confusing. Stay with this, because the realization unfolding inside them is becoming harder and harder to ignore. What affects them most is not just missing you, but recognizing how rare it felt to be emotionally understood by someone without constantly needing to explain themselves. Around you, they did not feel pressured to pretend or perform. They could simply exist as they were. That comfort became more meaningful over time, especially after distance entered the picture. Since then, they have encountered conversations that felt empty, connections that lacked emotional honesty, and moments that reminded them how uncommon your energy truly was. Slowly, they are realizing that some people do not just enter life to create memories. Some arrive to awaken forgotten parts of the heart that had gone silent for too long. There are nights when they sit alone with thoughts they rarely share openly. They wonder if you ever sensed how deeply they were affected by your presence. They replay certain moments and search for hidden meanings in things left unsaid. Part of them regrets the emotional hesitation that existed between you. Another part still hopes that meaningful connections do not disappear completely just because life became complicated. There's something important here. Human hearts often recognize significance before the mind fully accepts it, and this person is now facing emotions they tried for a long time to keep buried beneath distractions and routine. At the same time, you have been changing too, even if you do not fully realize it yet. This connection has quietly shaped your emotional world as well. It taught you things about patience, emotional depth, and the way certain people can leave lasting impressions without dramatic endings. Sometimes the most powerful connections are not the loudest ones. They are the ones that continue living quietly within us, teaching us, softening us, and reminding us that genuine emotional impact cannot be forced or replaced. And somewhere inside this person, your memory still carries that quiet, undeniable meaning that refuses to completely fade. There is a certain kind of connection that stays alive beneath the surface, even when two people stop speaking as often as they once did. It does not beg for attention or create chaos. It simply remains there quietly, woven into thoughts, emotions, and memories that continue returning at unexpected moments. This person has reached a stage where they can no longer deny how deeply you affected them. They may still try to appear composed on the outside, but internally they have been carrying a growing awareness that your presence changed something permanent within them. Do not miss what comes next, because this realization has started opening emotional truths they were not ready to face before. The more time passes, the more they understand that what they miss most is not only your words or your attention, but the feeling they became when they were connected to you. Around you, they felt lighter emotionally. Their thoughts slowed down. Their hearts softened in ways they had almost forgotten were possible. Even difficult days felt easier because your presence carried reassurance without needing to force it. Now they notice how different life feels without that emotional comfort nearby. They have tried to recreate the same feeling elsewhere, but something always feels incomplete, as though a part of their spirit still compares everything back to the peace they once experienced with you. What makes this especially emotional for them is the fact that they never expected your impact to last this long. At first, they assumed time would naturally erase the intensity of the connection. They believed distance would slowly quiet the emotions and make everything easier to release. Instead, the opposite happened. Time gave them perspective. It allowed them to see details they overlooked while emotions were unfolding in real time. Stay with this. Sometimes, separation does not weaken meaningful connections immediately. Sometimes it reveals how deeply rooted they truly became within the heart. Now, this person finds themselves thinking less about pride and more about honesty. They are beginning to accept that some people arrive in life carrying a kind of emotional significance that cannot be explained logically. You became one of those people for them. Even if circumstances created silence, even if confusion interrupted the natural flow between you both, the emotional mark remains present. Deep down, they know your connection was never ordinary to them. It became part of their inner growth, part of their emotional awakening, and part of the quiet transformation they are still trying to fully understand within themselves. Something has been shifting quietly inside this person lately, and it is becoming harder for them to keep pretending that your connection meant less than it truly did. The emotions they once tried to push aside are now returning with more honesty and less resistance. They are no longer only remembering specific moments with you, they are remembering how deeply alive they felt during that season of their life. Your presence brought warmth into places within them that had been emotionally distant for a long time, and now they are realizing how rare that experience really was. Stay with this, because the understanding forming inside them is leading them toward emotional clarity they once avoided. There were times when they convinced themselves that silence was the safest choice. They believed that stepping back emotionally would protect them from confusion, disappointment, or vulnerability. But over time, silence began teaching them something unexpected. It showed them how much space your absence actually occupied in their life. Certain days still feel incomplete without your energy somewhere within them. Certain thoughts still return to you naturally without effort. Even now, after trying to move forward in practical ways, there remains a quiet, emotional thread connecting them back to what they experienced with you. That thread has not disappeared, because genuine emotional impact rarely fades all at once. What they are beginning to understand is that your influence reached far beyond temporary feelings. You inspired reflection inside them. You made them think more deeply about connection, honesty, and emotional presence. Some of the growth happening within them now was quietly planted during the time they spent with you. There's something important here. People often underestimate the power of gentle connections. Not every meaningful relationship arrives dramatically. Sometimes the strongest emotional shifts come through simple conversations, shared understanding, and the comfort of feeling emotionally safe with another person for the first time in years. And while they still carry hesitation about what the future holds, one truth continues becoming clearer inside them with every passing day. You mattered deeply to their journey, not because you were perfect and not because life unfolded exactly as expected, but because your presence awakened something real within them. Even now, when they think about you, there is more softness than bitterness, more reflection than regret. Somewhere in the quietest part of their heart, they are finally accepting that letting go completely has been difficult because the connection itself left behind something meaningful, lasting, and deeply human.